The Viking Age, an era of fearless warriors, daring explorers, and legendary kings. From the late 8th century to the early 11th century, the Norse people carved their place in history, dominating the seas and reshaping the map of Europe. But this was also an age of transformation. As the Viking way of life evolved, so did its leaders. Among the many iconic figures, one name stands tall: Harald Hardrada, known as the last great Viking king. Harald's life was the stuff of legends, a seasoned warrior, a king of Norway, and a man whose ambition led him to his fateful end at the Battle of Stamford Bridge in 1066. Yet, amidst Harald's legacy of conquest and glory, his son Olaf would take a very different path. Unlike his father, whose reign was defined by the sword, Olaf chose peace. Today, we're diving into the life of Olaf Haraldsson, better known as Olaf the Peaceful, a king who redefined what it meant to rule during the Viking Age. Olaf was born into one of the most powerful families of Viking Norway. He was the son of King Harald Hardrada, the legendary warrior king, and Tora Torbergsdatter, a noblewoman from a prominent Norwegian family. As a teenager, Olaf was thrust into the heart of the Viking Age's most dramatic events. At just 16 years old, he joined his father, King Harald Hardrada, in the ambitious invasion of England. This campaign reached its climax on September 25, 1066 at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. While Olaf stayed behind to guard the fleet at Rickhall, his father, King Harald Hardrada, led the Norwegian army into battle. The fight ended in a crushing defeat for the Norwegians, and Harald himself was killed in combat, marking the end of his reign and also a significant turning point in the decline of the Viking Age. After Harald Hardrada's death, the remaining Norwegian forces retreated. Olaf, now responsible for the remnants of the strike force, sailed back to Orkney, where they spent the winter. The following summer in 1067, Olaf returned to Norway, stepping into a kingdom reeling from the loss of its king and the end of its ambitious dreams of conquest. After the devastating loss at Stamford Bridge and the death of his father, Harald Hardrada, Olaf began ruling Norway alongside his brother Magnus II, who had become king the previous year. The shared rule was short-lived. When King Magnus died in 1069, Olaf became the sole ruler of Norway, inheriting a kingdom that was still reeling from years of conflict and external ambitions. Unlike his predecessors, Olaf chose a path of peace and stability. Norway, under his reign, experienced a rare extended period of tranquility. He abandoned the offensive foreign policies of the Viking Age, focusing instead on defending Norway's sovereignty through diplomacy. Olaf strengthened ties with neighboring kingdoms through strategic agreements and marriage alliances, ensuring Norway's security without the need for constant warfare. This shift not only protected the kingdom but also allowed it to thrive economically and culturally. Domestically, Olaf focused on strengthening the church and modernizing the kingdom. He played a crucial role in organizing the church's structure, solidifying Christianity's place in Norway. One of Olaf's most notable achievements was founding the city of Bergen, which would go on to become one of Norway's most important trading hubs and cultural centers. After the death of Harald Hardrada and the crushing defeat at Stamford Bridge, Norway found itself vulnerable. The Danish king Sven Estridsson saw an opportunity to press his claims over Norway. King Sven no longer felt bound by the ceasefire agreement signed with Harald Hardrada in 1064, as it had ended with his death. The ceasefire between Harald Hardrada and King Sven Estridsson was a crucial diplomatic achievement that ended years of conflict between Norway and Denmark. It stipulated that neither king would attack the other's territory during their lifetimes, ensuring a fragile peace in the region. With Harald Hardrada's death, the agreement lost its validity as it was bound only to the reigns of the two kings. This gave King Sven the pretext to consider invading Norway. Olaf, however, demonstrated his skill as a diplomat. He made peace with King Sven and strengthened their alliance through marriage. Olaf married Sven's daughter Ingrid, and later arranged for his half-sister Ingegerd to marry Sven's son, Olaf. These marriages secured peace and also fostered stronger ties between Norway and Denmark. Olaf's diplomatic efforts didn't stop at Denmark. He also turned his attention to England and made peace with William the Conqueror. While Danish forces occasionally raided England, Olaf maintained peaceful relations with William, ensuring that Norway stayed out of the conflict. King Olaf's reign of peace and progress came to an end on September 22, 1093, when he died of illness in Hokbo, Ranrike, then part of Norway. He was laid to rest at the Nidaros Cathedral, a fitting final resting place for a king who had strengthened Norway's ties to Christianity and the Church. Olaf's marriage to Ingerid did not produce any children, but his legacy lived on through his successor. Magnus III, also known as Magnus Barefoot, was acknowledged as Olaf's illegitimate son and ascended the throne after his death. Although overshadowed by more dramatic Viking leaders, Olaf the Peaceful showed that a strong ruler doesn't always need a sword. His reign laid the foundation for a more unified and prosperous Norway,